Welcome to the Existential Empath Podcast. My name is Tanya, and I am an intuitive empath. My intention is to share valuable tips, tools, and techniques that I have learned so you can tap into your own inner healer naturally and intuitively. Welcome back, everyone. Today I have guest Crystal Anne Compton. Crystal is a spiritual teacher, intuitive channel, and founder of the Light Shine Lab, an online community dedicated to spiritual learning and conscious exploration. She served as an intuitive reader for more than 2 decades before shifting her focus toward teaching and coaching others on how to open their intuitive abilities to live dynamic and spiritual lives. Welcome, Crystal. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here and get into all the things.
I know. So you and we're going to talk about manifesting 101, using your intuitive abilities to attract what you desire. And so, Crystal, you and I have always been connected to the spirit world. I've been following you for a while on your Instagram page and learning a lot about you. And as children, we could sense energy. We could see colors and shapes. We could talk to animals and trees. And we have a deep inner knowing about people, places, and things. And so I'd like to start off with this topic because it's going to be the foundation of the show today, tuning into our intuitive abilities to be able to create and manifest things into our lives. And so, Crystal, for those out there who didn't grow up with strong intuitive abilities, or they lost them like you and I both, how can one manifest their own unique spiritual abilities and talents?
Such a good question. Well, the first thing to know is that it's entirely possible. And I would say that spiritual gifts, psychic abilities, and intuitive abilities, these are all entirely human, entirely natural, and part of our human experience. So it's not like something you have to find outside of yourself. You already have all of the apparatus inside of yourself. It's about turning those lights on, getting back into a state of connection. And that truly is the most important thing, I believe, is to get into a state of connection with source energy, God, creator, whatever you would call this being. Get into that state of connection. You know, Jesus Christ said, seek first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things shall be added unto you. All of these things, prosperity, abundance, health, well-being, also intuition, clairvoyance, mediumship. I mean, the connection dictates the abilities. The connection dictates the evidences. And when I kind of got into this field, I was really interested in like seeing a ghost. You know, again,
or I think that's the first thing we want to do, right?
Right. We're kind of chasing the bells and whistles of the paranormal and spirit world. The interesting thing is if we focus instead on our connection through, say, meditation and prayer and vibration modification and study and fellowship, and we really develop that channel to spirit, all of those things just start naturally popping up in your life. And you're not as gagged about it when it happens. You're like, oh, this is just part and parcel with the connection. So that is my bit of advice. Focus on connecting to source energy in whatever way that happens for you. And then the lights just start coming on in the house.
Absolutely. And I think it's that, you know, we are kind of programmed to, if we see it, we'll believe it versus if we believe it, we'll see it. And that's a key when it comes to creating and manifesting things into our lives. And so, Crystal, what are some things that may block that connection from source, from creator, from God, that we are, you know, we're like, oh, we're trying to tune into our intuition, but I feel a little disconnected. What are some things that could be disconnecting us?
Well, the main thing is, and it shows up in a lot of different ways, is a fundamental misidentification of self and not knowing who you truly are. See, the inherent structure of this reality that we live in, this matrix, this Maya, this 3D reality, is to disempower us so that we give away our energy to what's showing up on the screen of our life and live in perpetual states of reaction as opposed to intention. And so the problem is that most people don't see themselves as creators or manifestors or necessarily powerful, but I mean, extrapolate from their beautiful, worth loving, valuable, able to make money and prosper. Most people have an inherent misunderstanding of what they're actually capable of because they don't see themselves as they truly are. So whenever I'm working with someone, we always start right there at the foundation. You were created intelligently. God had a plan for you. You came into this world in the image of the creator that made you with all of that functional spiritual DNA, meaning you came here to create too, and you have everything within you to do exactly that. But you have to believe it's possible. If you do not believe it's possible of yourself, you will only ever create according to how you feel yourself to be. Catch that, because that's the key. You only ever create according to who you feel yourself to be. So if you feel yourself to be a victim, if you feel yourself to be unlucky, if you feel yourself to be poor, but you're still working that vision board, right? You're still running your affirmations, you're still journaling, but inherently you feel yourself to be lacking, you will only ever create that. So it's about fixing your concept of self first, and then setting about to intentionally manifest what you want.
Absolutely. And that is so powerful. I know my clairsentience is one of my strongest abilities. And so I have a difficult time visualizing sometimes, but I know I'm creating and manifesting things based off of how I feel. And, and we're going to dive into that a little bit, how to, how to work with our intuitive abilities, which ones are stronger and which ones aren't. So, but I first want to start off, Crystal, with what are the basic concepts of manifestation? Because this is Manifesting 101. I wanted to really start from a very general standpoint for those out there who, there's many out there like you and I who've been doing this for a long time. And then there's some out there who are like, I'm kind of new to this. I'm kind of skeptical. How do people start off with, number one, like you said, realizing that we're divine creator beings, but what's the next step after that?
I think it's important to have an understanding of the mechanics of manifestation. And I personally subscribe to the Neville Goddard school of thought around this. And he wrote a beautiful book. It's like 33 pages called Feeling is the Secret. And that is the secret. But it is actually a 3-part system. The first part is you have to have a vision. You have to have something that you want to manifest. I mean, how can you take anybody with you if you don't know where you're going? Like, how can you be a leader? How can you build a business unless you have that vision for yourself? The Bible says the people perish for a lack of vision. So developing that with the conscious mind, which allows us to envision or to image. And then understanding that it's this other part of you, which Neville Goddard calls the subconscious, or the womb, the female aspect of who we are, that is ever creating, gestating, creating, and manifesting on your behalf. But the subconscious only ever manifests according to how you feel yourself to be. Feeling is the secret. And so it's not enough to have a plan. You have to feel yourself as already being that. If you can do the first thing, if you can do the last thing first, Neville Goddard calls this the end. If you can live in the end of the outcome, the ultimate thing that you want now, in the beginning, you hasten it to you, you manifest it very quickly. The subconscious, that part of you, that magical being that you are, that will create it on your behalf, only ever takes its marching orders from your feeling of self. Those are the 3 parts: the male or the conscious, the imager, the vision; the subconscious, the animator, the creator; and the feeling that ties those 2 together. That's the mechanics. That's all it is. The hardest part, I hate to say hard, but the thing that we need to attune to is our concept of self, our feeling of self. And have you ever noticed, like, one day you wake up, your hair's fly, you look good today. Oh, these jeans are great. You go outside, you feel so good about yourself. You go to the coffee shop and everybody wants to talk to you. Or like things just start to happen in a synchronistic way. You feel good and good things happen in accordance to that. That is a hint to how everything works. So that is what I would have to share with you, like starting with that fundamental formula.
Yeah. And that's a tough one, Crystal, because we've been so programmed to be numb as a society, right? So we've been programmed to shut off that intuitive feeling. And so I love Neville too. I follow a lot of his teachings, and he talks a lot about the law of assumption as well. And I resonate with that because, like you said, the end, it's living in that end result, and you will naturally attract that into your current reality. And I love how Neville talks about divorcing the third dimension as well. And that was really powerful for me, because basically, what we are seeing in our current now reality has already been manifested. We already created that, right? And so we need to separate, divorce, disconnect from our sight of what we're seeing, our feelings of what we're seeing in that third dimensional now reality, and moving forward, right? But in that now moment. So that's where it gets a little tricky, because you're like, okay, there's a now moment, every now moment, right?
Right. There's a lot of now moments.
Like we're in the future right now, because from the first now moment. And so let's talk a little bit about that, because I think, I wanted us to go through an example, where we could work our way through it for people to have a deeper understanding of, how to attract something in their lives. And I always like to use money, because I know that's a very simple topic. Well, it's not simple to attract for some, but it's an area that most people are like, oh, I wish I had more of that. And I want to dive into that and kind of break it down specifically with Neville's guidelines and move through that. And so, but I think it's important for us to start off with, what is money? Because not everybody has an understanding of what money is. And Crystal, you did some posts on this, and I was like, yes. And so can you talk a little bit about what money is?
Sure. But before I do, I just have to co-sign what you said, because Neville talked a lot about how the screen of your life, everything showing up on the screen of your life, we often misunderstand and take that to be the cause of how we feel about ourselves. Oh, because there's a war in another country, I feel scared. Oh, because my husband cheated on me, I feel devalued. We tend to miss the fact that that's actually the effect of how we feel about ourselves and our inner world. It starts with us. How you feel right now is how you are going to create tomorrow, period, point blank. So I just have to absolutely agree. And divorcing yourself from what's showing up in the senses, and training yourself to pivot instead towards what you are creating. Ooh, this is such good stuff.
So this is such a rich topic, because it's like, if you're waking up every day looking at your bank account and you're like, oh, I only see $1,000 in there, you have to divorce yourself from that reality. And let's talk about this. And I love just talking about money, because I know this is a touchy spot for some people. So let's dive into it.
It is. And it's really stigmatized. And I think a lot of that is because so many of us had improper demonstrations of money. And I would be the first to raise my hand to that. I'm still dealing with issues of money that were programmed into me by my parents, who went through stages of poverty. There were times in my life, Tanya, when I didn't have running water, I didn't have electricity, we didn't have food to eat in the outer islands of Hawaii. We were poor. Okay, poor. And also the mindset that would come along with that, with my parents who kept us in the state of poverty, and my mom who just believed that's what she deserved. I saw all of that. And as children, we're sponges. We're just taking all of this in. I also heard the way they talked about money, not having it, and also the people that did. And so I carried that with me into my adulthood. And this is the stuff that I'm constantly noticing, right? When I'm reacting to something, I'm noticing, right, how I'm feeling about that, and then working on clearing. But money is just energy. It's neutral. It's not good or bad or indifferent. It is a tool to help you have your incarnated experience. And the thing about tools is tools serve us. They serve the master. The master never serves the tool. And so many of us have this kind of perverted backwards relationship with money. We fear it. We are lustful for it. We give it more energy and identification than it actually deserves. It is just energy here to serve us, and we can attract it and repel it according to how we feel about it. So we got to get right initially with our relationship with money. Money so often tells us something about ourselves, who we are. If your bank account is in the negative, we're going to have to fix that. But it's telling you something about who you are and who you believe yourself to be. So first, you got to take the message of money and how it's showing up in your life right now. And I have a really good tip for this, if I can share it with you.
Please.
I forget where I learned this. This was years ago. Somebody recommended taking a piece of paper and a pen and just writing the number 8 on the paper, and then ripping the paper out, folding it up, and placing it in your wallet. Now, numerologically speaking, the number 8 is the number of harvest. It's the Midas touch number. It's money, honey, money, money, money. And so the energy of that number goes into your wallet. And if you have a healthy relationship with money, if you don't have a lot of distortion like so many of us do, you will find, and I'm promising you this works. I don't know why it works. It just
I'm
does.
doing it.
Okay. You will find that you will start having more money in your experience, whether it's coins that you pick up on your daily walks, whether it's you get an additional check in the mail, maybe they bump up your salary at work, maybe somebody offers to pay the bill, little things primarily, but more money just starts to show up in your life. This is an indication for you to keep that 8 in your wallet, but also that you're pretty in alignment with your energy of money. However, if you're not, and you put that 8 in your wallet, you will find that things start to go wrong with money. Now, not on a huge scale. And when I did this, I thought for sure, because I knew what manifestation was, I knew how to do all these things. I was an intuitive. I thought for sure I'd start picking up those coins on my daily walks. Nope. Within the first day, I forgot my wallet when I was going somewhere. That was annoying. Second day, I left my card in the ATM machine. I had to order a new card.
Oh, no.
Third day, like just these annoying problems started happening with money, and I didn't get some money that I was expecting to get. And because I've trained myself to notice synchronicities, patterns in my life, I said, oh my gosh, I've got some wonky energy around money. So I took that 8 out immediately. And then I started doing the work around my relationship, what are my programs around money? And I brought that into attunement with who I truly am. Then I put that 8 back in. I started finding those coins on my walk. So try that, because again, I don't know why, but it works.
It does work. And, our thoughts are so powerful. Yesterday, I was driving around. I had great, I woke up, did my meditation. I was in a great state of being. And then something happened on my drive that started me spiraling in my thoughts. And I could feel my awareness just noticing it, but then I could see it spiraling, and boom, a huge rock flew from the car in front of me and hit the passenger side of my car. And I said, darn it, Tanya, like you literally shifted almost parallel reality. Like I could feel it. It was like I shifted my frequency, and the universe was throwing a rock at me that said, hey, snap out of it. And boom, I did. And I was like, oh, wow, look how quickly I manifested being in this super high frequency to now I've got a big old chip, on the side of, on my windshield. And so that's exactly what happened to me. And I didn't use the 8. I was just more, just really being aware of our thoughts. But once you start practicing these techniques, be very aware of what's going on in your reality. Use your intuitive abilities. I think it's important for us to figure out which of our abilities are stronger than others. I know that's really key, and we can work on those too. We can work on them so they're all really strong. But for you obviously were tuning into the synchronicities, like, I'm seeing a shift here. And because if you start to work unconsciously, when you try these tools and techniques, you're going to just get frustrated, and then you're going to lower your vibration. And so it's so important to tune into that. And I just wanted to make that point, because that's why we use our intuitive abilities. It's like, we're being communicated with, but we can shift this at any
Absolutely.
time.
Yes. And I want to say that life is always, ever, moment to moment, showing you exactly who you are and what you believe. Every moment, through circumstances, conditions, people's opportunities, networks, all of these things that are happening in your life are ever showing you exactly what you believe to be true. So by throwing that 8 in my wallet, but feeling still good about myself, still feeling connected, but noticing immediately what the world was showing me, I was able to take the invitation of that, right? And follow the thread, go back into my childhood, figure it out, bring the light, heal it, and then attune myself. But the problem is, most of us just, we're habituated to living in reaction. And again, this misidentification of the outside being the cause when it is the effect. You are the creator of your reality, truly. And you know what? That's uncomfortable, Tanya, because a lot of people, that requires radical responsibility to understand that you're creating your experience right now. Yes, that doesn't mean that what happened to you in your past was fair. And a lot of us have had trauma and even abuse. And it's not like we called that into being or that we deserved that. But here right now, and as it concerns your tomorrow, you are the one that is creating that. And if you don't like what is showing up, it's only you that can change that. And when you expand that out to the collective of all of us here, and Neville would say, everything is just me pushed out, right? We are all one. It's all, we're all together in this. Like, look what we are collectively creating. And so each and every one of us has to shift our inner world, our inner concept of self to change what's happening in the world. Only we can do it. But that's a lot, right?
It is a lot. It is a lot, but you know what? One little light can create a lot of, a lot of light. So it's just each turning on our little light and saying, okay, I get it. I get it. I'm not focusing. I mean, I'm not even focusing on what's going on in the world. I don't even know. I'm in my own reality. I'm in my own creation, and it's delicious. It's fun. I get excited every day to see, okay, what's going to happen today? How am I going to, interact with my universe, with my multiverse, right? And so that's what's so fun about it. And so, Crystal, I want to talk about how we can use our intuitive abilities to create and attract, because I know, just my experience is, like I said, I know Neville does a lot of visualizing, and I'm like, ooh, why? And I'm working through it. I'm getting better. I really am getting better. And a lot of that is my belief systems, behind that. But I've been tuning into some of my other abilities, like my sense of hearing, clairaudience, and also my sense of feeling, my clairsentience. And I'm a really good manifester just using those senses. And so I want to talk about that. Some of us get hung up on the visualizations.
For sure.
And and there are other ways that we can create and we can bring things into our reality. So let's talk a little bit about that too.
Sure. Well, I consider our emotions and also our abilities as just a kind of guidance system, a GPS system. And I believe spirit is always talking to us. I believe that the universe is conspiring for our highest success. I believe in angels. I believe in guides. I believe in ancestors. I believe they're always talking to me, but it's never a forceful kind of a demand, like, you better make this choice, Crystal. It's always like a tap, tap, tap. Hey, what about this? Or doesn't this feel good? Would you please notice that? And that's where I think our senses come into it, because if we're so cut off from our higher self, our intuitive self, we're not going to feel the taps on the shoulder. We're not going to really get the sense. And I don't think you need to be able to visualize to be super, super intuitive and psychic. I think, what is the percentage? Like, I don't know, it's like less than 10%, but a lot of the population cannot actually visualize. They just don't have the ability, but you don't need to. You can hold an image through how you feel within your body and also through your other senses. But once we believe first that we have the apparatus of all these gifts and abilities, each and every one of us do, once we believe that we're always being supported and guided, these taps on the shoulders, then we can train ourselves through our senses to pick up when they are guiding us or when we are being guided or moved in a direction. Unfortunately, so many of us are cut off from these sensations, especially in the body right now, because I feel like on the planet right now, we are being encouraged to disassociate from our body, from our authentic self, and instead to contribute like via projections and filters and, these false representations of who we are. So we're so disconnected to everything that we have because we're focusing on this outpictured reality. Am I going crazy? But do you know what I'm saying?
I love this. This is exactly I feel like we're in the same frequency with this, because I have made a conscious effort to disconnect any and all things that are guiding me towards not feeling good or creating subconscious programs that are not in my highest and best good. And so I have been, which has been great, because it's like a roto-rooter, I've just been clearing out everything, but it's been making it easier for me to find clarity and to tap into those senses and abilities. So let's keep talking about this, because this is huge right now. A lot of us are like squirrel, 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 where you're like, no, focus. What are you focused on? Because when it comes to manifesting, you've got to hold that focus, right? and then just release it, surrender to it, and just trust and know that it's coming.
Right. Neville had that lecture called Order, Then Wait. And that's the part so many of us have a problem with. Like, we make our universal order, like, I want to order this man, I want to order this car. And then we are called to relax. What are you doing while you're waiting? Are you having fun? Are you enjoy? Is your vibration high? Or are you calling the waiter back saying, is it going to be medium rare? I asked for medium rare. Are you second guessing the order that you've made? Are you calling back your blessing by overthinking it and now getting anxious? And when is it going to show up? We get in our way so often when the process itself is pretty easy if we just let it happen as it should.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like planting that seed. And then every single minute, are you growing yet? Is there a
Right.
sprout yet? Where are you? Where are you? Hurry up. Come on.
Right.
It's that impatience that we have. And believe me, I can definitely attest to that. It's like you place your order, but the universe will bring things in. It was really funny. I was watching Neville, and he has a technique where you visualize a friend or someone you trust calling you saying, hey, I'm going to give you money, or you've won money, or something along those lines. And so when I watched that particular technique online, I thought, I'm going to give that a shot. And so that night, right before bed, I visualized one of my close friends calling me saying that she won $5 million and that she was going to give some to her kids and she was going to give some to me. And so ever since then, this was probably 3 weeks ago, all these things in my mind, songs will come up that say $5 million in it. On my social media, it popped up, you will receive $5 million by this day, reclaim it, and it's funny because I get emotional when I see that. It's like this sense of joy, but eagerness comes across me that, whoa, this technique is working. It's just a matter of me releasing myself to allowing it to come and just flourishing in that journey. Abraham Hicks always says, it's funny. She says, you want to go on vacation. You're at home right now, but you want to go on vacation, right? So you say, I'm at home now and I want to go on vacation. Why don't I just stay home and not go on vacation? Because what's the point of that? What's the point of going on vacation and enjoying myself when I can just stay home and be at home, because my end result is going to be at home anyway. So many of us get caught up in that, right? We get caught up in not, enjoying the journey to the manifestation, because if you just stayed home, you wouldn't enjoy the experiences that you would have while being on vacation. Right?
100%. Another technique that Neville offers, which I just love, because I tend to overthink during manifestation. Like I'm like, okay, all the details. Oh man, this is everything. I want it by this date, right? I think a lot of us have that tendency, but he shared the technique to just prime yourself before sleep, because of course, sleep is the domain of the subconscious, which is the animator of everything we're manifesting. But before you fall to sleep, and especially when you're in that state akin to sleep, which is hypnagogia, right? Which is that trance-like state where you're not yet asleep, but you're not fully awake. And we all enter into those states at least twice a day. But when you're getting ready to sleep, you're super trancy, lulled out. Just think to yourself, isn't it lovely? And the key here is not to get so excitable or excited by lovely so that you wake yourself up, right? You got to stay in this state of sats, which is state akin to sleep, and think to yourself, isn't it lovely? And feel lovely as much as you can without waking yourself up. And stay there, 4 or 5 minutes, and allow yourself to fall asleep with lovely being your frequency. And the cool thing about this is you're not telling the universe or your subconscious self exactly what to manifest, but the universe knows what you need at the highest level. And often if we leave it to the universe, we leave it to source energy, what is manifested according to lovely is so much better than anything we could have written down in our affirmations and our vision board. And the next day, we start manifesting experiences and conditions and relationships that are lovely. And so that's just an easy technique. It's not super complicated. Everybody can do it, but it really does work. But you have to feel lovely. If you don't feel lovely, you're not going to manifest lovely.
Absolutely. And that's so saying things before bed is powerful. I love how Neville talks about that. And I've learned recently about the difference between ask-formations and affirmations before bed. So the subconscious mind loves questions. You give it a question and it tries to work things out for you. So doing that similar technique, also try asking your subconscious mind a question before bed. So why do things always work out in my favor? What would my life look like if ... What would my life feel like if ... So as you drift off into sleep time, your subconscious never sleeps. It is working on How can we show her what her life would feel like if she was wealthy, if she had love all around her, if her life was lovely, you know? So these are some simple tools
Mhm.
and techniques that Crystal and I are sharing with you that you can do literally right before bed. And I've actually been incorporating them too, right when I wake up, because you're in that
Mhm.
same hypnagogic state where you're just a little groggy. And I'm like, I'll catch myself immediately having negative thoughts. And I'm like, no, like, why am I doing that first thing in the morning?
Mhm.
Stop it. And then I'll start to incorporate your technique and then the ask formations. And it's like, okay, it's really setting that tone, that tune, that vibration, that frequency for your day. And then the mastering part is holding that frequency, right? Because
Absolutely.
we can find ourselves kind of teeter-tottering out of that sometimes.
And that's where, practices and discipline and the things that you do, the action steps that you take really support and hold up that which you are seeking to manifest. So you do have to arrange your life in an intentional way to support your path and what you are creating. I did want to talk to you a little bit about the concept of surrender, because I think that's so key. I feel like a lot of us get so caught up with wanting to manifest something exactly and asking for it exactly as we want it, and not thinking about what higher self, source energy would actually have for us, or what our soul planned for us in this incarnation. Because here we are, in the woods, in the trees. We don't see from that. We don't always see from that meta soul level what we actually came here to do. And I love the example of Christ in Gethsemane on the eve of his crucifixion. He asks his two disciples, "Can you just stay up with me? I'm scared." And of course, they fall right asleep, and he's alone, and he prays. And I'm going to paraphrase it, but he basically says, "Can you take this cup from me? Like, I would like to manifest not having to die tomorrow. I'm scared. Can you take this from me?" But he ends it with, "Thy will be done," because he understands that he was incarnated for a specific purpose. And the highest level of this would be through the sacrifice that he made, whether you believe he was a real man or not. This is kind of the symbolism of this. He's willing, no matter what, to adhere to what source energy, God, creator, higher self has for that highest vision. And I feel like a lot of us wonder why sometimes we don't manifest the things that we're asking for exactly. But sometimes, well, at most times, it's better that we don't, because there's a higher vision at play. And I personally, Tanya, am way more interested in connecting to that higher vision.
Yes.
And through my practices and through my study, like understanding and feeling myself more as the higher self or the created being.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I'm dwelling up there in this high frequency, honey, everything takes care of itself. I don't have to worry about a darn thing. It all happens for my benefit. And so I trust that above all else.
Yes, it's so true. And, Jesus came to us to show us what we're capable of. And, we can walk on water if we believe we can walk on water. And
Yes.
I had a friend who was so dead set on, he was really studying Jesus and some of his abilities to manifest. And he's like, I am going to tune into this walking on water. And he was really putting forward, the intention of that. But he's like, I've got to believe I can do it, And so it's funny. I haven't chatted with him in a while. I'm curious if he's gotten to that point yet. But, these are all things. There's nothing that we can't do. There's nothing that we're incapable of doing. It's just a matter of believing it, right? Believing it, because we are manifesting in the quantum field. We're manifesting in the energetic realms. And then it's showing up in our physical reality, right? And so it's just, I think part of the mastering too is how fast, I know with me, it's like, how fast can I get things to manifest? But it's also like I used the analogy before with the vacation. I'm like, I guess I'm trying to push getting to the destination without enjoying the journey. And that's where many of us get stuck. And so just really relishing that deliciousness of, I'm just enjoying every piece of this, and for me, it's like getting up every day saying, how's the universe going to show me $5 million are coming into my physical reality, and so this is all so fun. And there's so many things that I think, there's so many techniques out there. And one bit of advice that I would share with people is pick one and work on one, because what happens is you pick all these, you can go Neville Goddard, Abraham Hicks. There's so many different teachers out there that teach law of attraction, law of assumption, all these different universal laws. But if your energy is all over the place and it's scattered, it's going to make it a lot harder to attract things. So my little bit of advice is pick one technique that you like, really focus on it, really try to master that technique the best that you
Yes.
can.
And I think that the best way to believe that it's possible is to demonstrate it to yourself, starting with the small things. When you can see in your own experience, oh my gosh, I did just create that. Just like you're seeing all these references to $5 million. This is an affirmation that you're creating this, that you are in the driver's seat. One of the things that Neville Goddard taught was the ladder technique, right?
Yes.
Envisioning yourself when in a state akin to sleep, okay? Envisioning yourself ascending up and then descending a ladder, but like do it until you always got to do it until it takes on the tones of reality. Like you can really feel the grooves in each rung. You can feel the ladder kind of settle when you're taking the next step, and you can feel the metal or the wood of the ladder. Like you've got to do it until it feels like you're actually doing it. Tones of reality. And you do this for a few minutes, you ascend and you descend. And then there was another part to this technique that I never quite understood and I didn't do, where then you said there is no ladder. I forget. All I ever did was ascend and descend this ladder for a few minutes and until it took on to the tones of reality. And the following day, and for like a week or two afterwards, I saw ladders everywhere. There's a ladder on top of the truck in front of me. I go to the Starbucks, there's a ladder against the wall. There's ladders absolutely everywhere. And this was such an easy way to show me I am creator. I am creating. I am manifesting ladders everywhere. Now, of course, there's the concept of pareidolia, where once you're focusing on something, you're seeing it everywhere. But I think it's a balance of this. I believe there are more ladders, and I believe I'm noticing it because I'm attuned to it. Now that I've proved that to myself, what else do I want to manifest?
Yes.
And we don't have to go super high. Maybe for you, your possibility does include 5 million. For a lot of people, it doesn't. But does it include $100?
True.
Like what feels possible? Test yourself until it doesn't feel possible. It's $100. Then you go to sleep and you just feel yourself. Tones of reality, people. You feel yourself counting the money. You're smelling the money. It's a beautiful $100 bill, 4 or 5 minutes. And then you'll begin to manifest that. And when you do that, well, all of a sudden more money's possible, right?
Yes.
All of a sudden I can get to $1,000 or $10,000. And this is how you can kind of stair step your way to incremental manifestation. But I would assert the most powerful way to manifest everything that your soul needs in this incarnation is to dwell in this soul space, in this higher frequency, to arrange your life so that you are always in this higher vibrational space to the best of your ability, and the universe takes care of the rest.
Yes. And that is so powerful. And one thing too, I want to add to that is when you did the ladder, you did the ladder technique, and then the next day you were seeing ladders, don't have resistance. Like, where's my ladder? Where's my ladder? I don't see my ladder, right? You just need to let it go. You do your technique and then you literally surrender, let it go. And then you'll have experiences come in. I actually have a story about this. I was manifesting an SUV one time. This was years ago. And I was looking it up online. I was, picking out, I actually created it online and I was really visualizing it. And that I had been doing this for a couple weeks. And then that morning I went to the chiropractor and I felt really good. I felt literally physically in alignment, right? So energetically, I get on the expressway and I see one of those semis that has 6 or 8 vehicles on it. Well, it was all the vehicles that I was, that I had created. And so I almost flew off the road because I was like so excited. I'm like, it's coming. Like I could feel it. It was coming. And so I got home that day and I was like, oh, universe, I'm so excited to see how you're going to present this to me. Well, later on that day, there's a store here called REI. It's like it's got a bunch of hiking stuff and outdoorsy stuff. Well, they were opening a new one in my town and my friend had asked me if I wanted to go. And for some reason, I wanted to go, but I was humming and hawing about it. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I was kind of in this state of, nah. And I didn't end up going to that. Well, he calls me later and says, you'll never know what they gave away at this grand opening. It was your SUV. And I'm like, I didn't follow the intuitive nudge. I didn't follow the invitation to go. I knew in my heart of hearts that was mine to win. I knew it. And I kind of beat myself up after that, a while after that. And then I kind of gave up on it. But I know, just based off of that experience, I know now to follow that intuitive nudge and to not have resistance about it, just to do it and to go and to feel it, because I was so close and the universe was showing me nonstop that it was happening, even to the point where my friend called me and said, "Hey, you missed your chance. That was yours."
Wow, what an amazing story. You know what? I think it would be good to offer some relatability around vibration and frequency and kind of maintaining that high vibe. It's not always easy, right? We came here to be human, and part of this reality in this infrastructure, there's built-in issues, problems, things we've got to overcome. This is the way that it is. And so it's not necessarily reasonable to expect yourself to be at this beautiful state of happiness, joy, and contentment all the time. But that's okay. What you have to do is build these practices into your daily life that get you back into a state of joy. And they can be little things, they can be affirmations, they can be meditation, it can be going outside, and grounding, taking your shoes off, touching grass, as the kids say. It could be getting into your garden. It could be jumping into your pool. It could be playing and dancing to your favorite song. There's a reason that Tony Robbins breaks up his talks and has people jump around and move their body, move the energy. There's all kinds of different things that you can make a habit out of to get yourself back into that higher frequency. So it's not bad. Nobody's blaming anybody else when we fall off and click out, right? It's about using the awareness of that to get back into alignment so you can continue to manifest from that state of being, because those manifestations are the ones that you want, the high vibration ones.
Yes, absolutely. And, this was in my early years of manifesting. So now I'm a little more advanced in it. It's like, okay, fell off the horse, but I know it's still there, and I like that you said that, because it's all just fine tuning it. It's like learning an instrument, learning a sport, whatever it may be that you're trying to learn, you're just learning how to get better at it. Right. And you'll start to learn these little quirks that work for you and don't. I love to change the lyrics of songs. And that's something that I've done since I was a kid. And, I do them all the time. And so I'm singing that in my mind, because our subconscious likes repetition, and in our inner being likes joyful, right? That joyful feeling. And so I crack myself up while I'm driving, just changing the lyrics of certain songs. And even the frequency of the word money can have a distorted vibration. I like to use the words wealth, prosperity, income, flow, alignment, those are even different words that I've used where I could see I had resistance with the word money. And so I said, all right, I'm going to replace the word money with some of these other words that I don't feel that in my body. And that's helped me a lot too. So, part of the show is us talking about our intuition and feeling into our abilities. And so if it feels restrictive or it feels off, then change it. Change the frequency. We have the power to change the energy of anything. And it starts with our belief around it.
Yes, absolutely. And for sure, money, again, is just an energy. It's here to serve you. It's about your relationship to money. That's the main thing. And if you can change the word, and word is sound is energy.
Yes.
If you can change the word so that it can be in alignment with what it is that you want to manifest, that's a great way to help you to do so.
Yeah. And so, Crystal, this has been such a rich conversation. And so I'd like for you to just tell us a little bit about the services that you provide for people and how can they connect with you?
Well, I don't provide any right now because I'm taking some time off. I was very busy doing classes, intensives, programs, workshops, and such. I'm completing a book that I have written called Channeling Angels. Hopefully, that's going to be out in the next couple of months. I am planning to prepare a workshop around the subject of timelines, timeline healing, cutting cords, manifestation through the timelines. That's in process right now, probably another couple of months. But let me just say, if you want to know more about me, I'm on YouTube. I've been on YouTube for over 10 years. I've got over 800 videos on everything metaphysical, honey. You can also check out my podcast. I've got a Life Magnetics podcast where I talk to wonderful people like you. You got to come on the pod. I also have a podcast called Miraculous Thinking that I do with my good friend, where we just read spiritual books and then talk about it, which is fun. And so I'm always creating content on my social media. I'm out here talking. But for right now, I'm a little quiet with the services, but there's so much free stuff out there. So go and get you some. For sure.
There is. And you're providing services through your YouTube channel and through your Instagram page and through all of the things. And I feel personally too, we don't have to be in a state of action and doing all of the time, right? And part of manifesting is understanding that usually when you attract it is when you're in a state of relaxation and in a state of flow and being, right? And so I do that. I get into these things where I've got to do this. I got to do the show. I got to do that. And then the days I'm like, I'm going to take a week off. It's like boom, 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 boom. And
I'm like, telling you, I've been doing this like consciously, like I'm just stepping back, just hanging out. We're just receiving for about 10 months, and the amount of like awesome people, projects, collaborations, just opportunities. I'm a human design generator. Do you know what you are?
Yes, I'm a manifesting generator. I just had a Gail on the show a few weeks ago.
Right. So like we work. And when something is in alignment, we have like endless energy to just create. And so it's harder for me to not just create all the time, but it is also so important to take care of yourself, to get some space and breath from everything that you've created so that new inspiration can drop in. So that's where I'm at right now. And it's going to be exciting, but right now it's just a little quiet. Quiet.
That's great. And that's wonderful. And I think as a manifesting generator, I've learned that I need to wait for someone to reach out and then I respond. And it's funny because I've noticed that with my guest content, the ones that I've reached out to, I haven't always felt as much in alignment with them when we're doing the show versus the ones who reached out to me. Like you actually reached out to me. You're like, I've seen you, let's connect. And so it's really funny. I'm noticing that I've taken a step back from being proactive on finding guests. And the moment I did that, yesterday I had three people reach out to me and say, hey, I found your show. How do I become a guest? And 2 out of the 3 were awesome. I was like, oh, okay. So I think a lot of it is us learning to surrender and to open ourselves to allowing and receiving. It's like you said, you place your order. And then you don't sit there and hawk over the chef like, hey, what you doing?
Where's my cheeseburger?
You have the back of the kitchen and
right. You have a cocktail, you talk to your good friend, you kiki, you laugh, you have a good time, you're high vibration in the interim, and then it comes and you're still creating in the interim. So it's all connected. Yes.
If not, you're creating more in the interim. That's, and I think that's how our lives our divinity is supposed to be. It's supposed to be, we've got it all backwards that we have to do. But when we're in those states of being and we take inspired action is when you can get so much more out of that. So just learning those simple tools. And Crystal, this has been fun. I feel like we covered a lot of topics. I love that we pulled Neville into it because Neville's been new to me over the last year, and I've really been seeing some significant results from his guidance. And I've also been learning more about timeline shifting, parallel realities, and quantum shifting and all of that stuff. So I think that plays a role into it as well as just you start to learn like a ladder, you start to learn all these new techniques and then you can apply them to what best suits you. And so I really thank you for coming on the show. I was really looking forward to the show. We booked it about a month or so ago. And I'm like, I know that's going to be a fun show because I've been following your content for a while now. And I'm taking these little bits and pieces and applying them to what I'm learning too. And I think that's important, take what you've learned out of this and what resonates and apply it and then leave the rest behind, and move on.
Oh, I had so much fun too. I mean, I could talk about manifestation and the magic of this world. And I really want people to get excited about what is possible and their infinite potential and their access to infinite resources. I want people to have a point of view shift to the fact that they're embodied and they're powerful. So this is my favorite subject. Thank you for having me, truly.
It is. Thank you. And I look forward to your books coming out.
Mahalo. Thank you.
Thanks, Crystal. You deserve to navigate your life in alignment with health, happiness, and abundance. To learn more about the services that I provide, including Beyond Quantum Healing Hypnosis, EFT tapping, and the emotion code, visit my website at www.theexistentialempath.com.